Alright, I'm trying to do this as this is the final ever full walkthrough of Marineland. There's the sign. You can still see the sun-faded whale on the sign, but this is from the last year that Marineland was ever operating. So I woke up one morning and like a flashbulb had gone through me. I realized if I didn't do this video, then it just wouldn't exist. So this is truly what I believe to be the last ever walkthrough video of the entire park of Marineland, and I'm going to try to give commentary on this. I'm also going to upload this video just as the original source. You can see the parking lot here. You got to think that there was a time when this was like completely filled. This was a hot happening place. This was a hopping spot, and at this point there is nobody here. So this is a day where Marineland is functional. This is totally operational. This is up and running at this point. There's almost nobody here. I am being clear on this. I had to hide my identity on a lot of this because I know that Marineland can be very litigious, so I'm trying to be as discreet with all this as possible. But yeah, this was 2024. This was right up close to the last time that Marineland ever ran, and I had never been to Marineland as a child. This was all brand new to me, but I found a season pass in the year 2024, and I decided to, fake the identity of the person who was on the card and come to Marineland. So this is me out of the car, now walking towards Marineland for the first full-time walkthrough video, trying to get as much footage as possible here. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, this was hard to do, this was hard to film, and I have very poor camera footage on a lot of this. So there's a security exit entrance that you're not allowed to open, but they got almost no employees working at this thing. So the idea of, could I have just gone through that gate? Yeah, absolutely. People are not really in charge of this operation at this point, and it was quite a weird experience to go through. So I'm hoping that there is some value to the idea of this video existing online and just getting a real scope and context as to what was going on here. Of course, Marineland at this point is entirely closed. I think it's being torn down and turned into an amusement park of some sort. I'm sure the land is designated and it has to be an amusement park in Niagara Falls, and that's why it's being open like that, because you do wonder, why wouldn't this land just be done for commercial use, turning it all into condominiums? Not that I want that, but it is odd that this is all being switched back. You can see the amount of just handicap parking availability that they have here, which again, there was a time when that place must have been just slammed with that many cars going into there, but now 4 cars in the lot for the handicap spot is all they got, and I'm honestly surprised it was this many. So trying to avoid the one car in the parking lot coming towards me. You can see, like, I'm pretty sure this is a weekday, admittedly, but we're getting pretty close to the last time that Marineland was ever operational. Education, conservation, research, don't buy that for a second, and that's not really what's going on. So coming up here, we got the front gates here, those little shed-like buildings. That's just more parking lot that's being shown around. There's some kind of auditorium, some kind of dome that they played videos or had animals in. I don't know. I've never been able to get into that building. Again, I only came here this year, and that place is entirely closed. You saw people that were on the steps there. They're just looking for shade. So here are the only things that are open: Polar Splash, Splash Pad, Dolphin Viewing, and Beluga Viewing. These are the only things that are open at this point. So there's the Marineland card, the season pass that I was able to find, 2024 adult fun card. The prices are rock bottom here. It was almost the same price for a season pass as it was for a one-day entrance, but you'll notice no one is stopping me or checking my card. I never scanned to come in here, so it was the same as me just walking in without any kind of identification. This woman doesn't even look up. Again, she's one of 10 employees who still exist at the park. I'm trying to be kind of discreet with my camera. I don't have any professional filming equipment at all. That is strictly my phone in my hand. So it's a little movable. It's a little shaky, and I do apologize for that. This is the area where you would get a season pass. You can upgrade your fun card if you want to go there. Again, this is the auditorium along with stroller rentals. The strollers are still actively available here, but this aquarium completely closed off. Everything's locked up here. You're not able to go in there. This is footage inside the building. You can see it's not not torn apart, but it's getting there pretty quickly. Pretty quickly that is happening here. So we're going to take a little trip down to this side, which at one point this full map was available and open in a walkway. Now it's got these barricades around here. You're going to notice a lot of these barricades throughout the park as we're doing this full walkthrough. So just trying to give you a shot over here to the side. Again, that was the building that we saw out front with the people sitting on the steps, the dome out front. Again, this is that same upgrade fun card here, getting a Seasons Pass. The Seasons Pass was almost the same price as the regular admission. Not that any of it was necessary because there's no security, there's nobody working here, but we're going to take a little trip through here, and you can see me just kind of trying to show what the wood grain, what the feel of... Man, doesn't it feel 90s in this place as we're going through here? And you can see it, but I did get absolutely terrified because, oh, there's an employee. I didn't see that coming. So I brief little conversation and tried to move myself along. You can see there's wood with sun stains on it as if posters have been taken down. People were ready to move out of here. So here's the statement of principle on whales. Again, all talking about very positive things and how they're taking care of these animals, but there's a reality. You're in this dilapidated park. You're as this thing is falling apart, and you can clearly tell the reason that it's falling apart is because they haven't been taking care of these animals. Not that I saw a tremendous amount of animal abuse, anything like that, but there's some surprises that are coming for us in this video. Again, I'm going to throw out that reminder. If you want to watch this without my commentary, that video is also uploaded on the same channel. This is an old gift shop. You can imagine what it looked like, but there's no gifts, there's nothing in there, and everything is, again, chained up, locked up. You're not able to go in. So I walked up this ramp here to the back of the big auditorium. You'll notice there was nothing stopping me. There was no chains. There was no barricades. So I'm just taking myself up here. Again, I could speed up all this footage, but we're covering a lot of ground here, and I'm just giving you guys the honest reflection of it. And it's hard to say, is this not beautiful? This is Niagara Falls, Canada, and the idea that right now what you're seeing is a structure from the 80s, the 90s, and a whole lot of greenery, blue sky. This is all beautiful. Of course, things did change. I remember my parents talking about it when I was a kid. They would never take me to Marineland because they said they went once and everything was just dirty. It's not very dirty right now, but of course, there's so few people that were going in and out of this park by 2024. There was only 3 attractions that were open at this point, as the sign said as we got in there, and one of those is the water park, which we will get to, but a beautiful shot of the Niagara Falls skyline. Again, that auditorium, that aquarium that was closed, and we turn, and there it is. This is the beluga whale section, and just that stadium seating, man, isn't that so reminiscent? That's from the commercials. I remember that shot of the castle. Now, pretty soon here, you're going to hear or see an employee starts yelling at me, telling me that I shouldn't be up here. Again, there was no barricades, there was no chains, there was no reason for me to believe that I shouldn't be up here, but this is the first time throughout this video that you'll see me having a poor interaction with an employee and getting kicked out. And there's that interaction, as I was saying, having that conversation with an employee.
Come this way?
They're telling me to leave, I'm confused, and so I'm carrying my way on. I'm trying not to cause any problems, I'm trying not to get kicked out here. I really am just trying to record what it is that I'm seeing, but I did get the feeling pretty quickly that employees were uncomfortable with me recording, and again, that's why I'm trying to keep my phone low. As much as I don't like the animals being in captivity, it's hard not to say that I don't enjoy this. Blue skies, green trees, a lot of greenery. We're outside on a beautiful day here in the summer. That's the tower, the drop ride from Marineland, that again is iconic from the commercial, and that's really all I know about Marineland before having come here. So just to throw it out to us again, I woke up and I've so few times in my life had that bolt of lightning feeling, woken up out of my sleep, but just realizing if I didn't come to this and record this, then this video would just never exist, and this is going to be the last time, because at this point, I'm recording it years later, this has all been torn down, changed, it's not the same anymore, and this park doesn't exist. There's that little chain, you can see it at the bottom of one of the staircases. That's the only thing indicating that we shouldn't be going up these stairs. Again, everything else is wide open, and how would I know not to go in here? So this is the other half of the gift shop that we're now seeing in here. I'm just trying to film through the windows, so that, again, the quality's not great, but trying to get the best view into there as we can. You can imagine filled with, you know, stuffed whales, stuffed belugas, all that kind of stuff. There's a restaurant, the Hungry Bear. It's closed. What a shock. There's another barricade you can see. There's an old-timey popcorn machine. We saw that for just a split second there, but again, completely out of business. They're not operating there. A lot of picnic tables, that kind of stuff. Again, off limits. You're not allowed to go there. And this is the other side of that castle, the beluga area that we were seeing from up top of the seating stadium there, which, again, I can only imagine it's so filled with people and filled with excitement because that's what I saw in the commercial, where now it is... Man, it is bare, it is empty, there is no one here. And it's funny to see all those barricades contrasted with this do not enter sign, because that one's like supposed to be there. That's part of the park that's telling you that only employees go there, where all those yellow barricades are just such a sad sign of the times. And I feel bad for these kids, honestly, that this is where they're coming. Hopefully they're local and this is just something to do briefly. Hopefully we can get a shot here of a beluga whale, but that's pretty well what we got here. We can see just how empty and kind of gross this place is looking. Sorry, this might be the dolphin enclosure. I apologize. Again, things are kind of hard to see. When I first got here the first time, as I'm standing in line waiting to go in, because there was actually a line, I think it was just a matter of, this is the dolphin enclosure. We'll get to the beluga whales next. And there's a couple of dolphins here. The first time I came to Marineland earlier this summer, before I had recorded this, we're standing in line because there was a few people there, but there was no employees operating. One employee came out and said, "There are no attractions open. You can see a whale swimming in a circle, and you can see a dolphin swimming in a circle." Really giving the vibe that they just didn't want people here. And again, that's so strange to me of like, why would you have this place open if you don't want people here? And they didn't get the sense that the employee was upset about the conditions of the animal, anything like that. They were kind of just frustrated that they had to deal with people. Again, you can see all the educational material. Marineland really making a push to make it seem like this is a educational facility when it's clearly not. It's clearly here as an attraction, and that's fine. But the mixed messaging things really fell apart here, and that really does go to show just kind of why this operation didn't last as long as it could have. It was a Canadian icon, a Canadian tradition for quite some time, but again, that fell apart pretty quickly. That pickup truck driving through, could you imagine them doing that during the summer, during a busy day when this place was crowded? Like, of course not. It seems like the rules are lax. So again, this is more footage of just shooting through the glass, trying to get what I can, trying not to be noticed by employees recording. So we can see some kind of amusement rides that are like broken apart and kept in the Hungry Bear because the restaurant is not being used. Nothing's going on here. Even the water fountains are broken intentionally. They're not in service anymore. They've taken all that kind of stuff off. We got a sewer grate here, which just a little bit of authenticity, 1922. So they're trying to, have those pieces there. But why wouldn't they have a whale or a dolphin on those sewer grates? I don't know. It seemed like an easy opportunity for branding, but they've removed that entirely. Same thing here. This is a kid's path just to the left here. I'll show it right there. But we have a construction gate saying "Do not enter." So that's the child section where there are a couple of roller coasters that have all been taken out of service. They're all dilapidated and rusted. Right here's a train track, which I never saw the train go through. I don't know how consistent that was. Doesn't look like that was ever for a ride. It looks like that was more for service, getting things in and out. But yeah, that's a train track going down. And just, I think, keeping materials here. So, in terms of buying a season pass and having a place local in Niagara Falls, if you live there, to have a walk around, be in a green space, this is a beautiful area, and it's hard to deny that. The forestation is very thick, it's very nice, and everything is being kept reasonably clean here, despite the fact there are a few employees. But again, there's so few people that are entering this park at this point. I can only imagine what it looked like during its peak season. But right now, it is being kept quite clean. We got a lot of filters and tanks. Again, you can see a sign here that says restricted area, do not enter, and that's clearly supposed to be there. That's like part of the park in the way that it's always been, because it's written in that same font as the Marineland sign at the front of the building. Trying to get as close as I can here without causing any problems. I don't want to be kicked out early, but they're making it very clear, don't go down there. It's all filtration and that sort of thing for the pools, which is understandable. It's odd that it's not better cloaked and hidden there. And again, more vehicles just being driven around here by the few employees that are there. Those guys will surface again in this video, don't you worry. So we're just going along this this cement path here, this brick path, which again, I got to give them credit. The fact that this is reasonably old and they've all pretty well understood that, like, yep, they are going out of business here. The fact that they still have the brickwork in such good condition is actually kind of shocking. So we coming up here on another set of those yellow barricades telling us do not enter, trying to keep us out there. And this goes to a very forested area, a very green area, a lot of picnic tables just beyond that, but all that stuff is, of course, out of bounds and off limits at this point. So that is real unfortunate. But you're looking at the timeline, you're looking at the bar of just how long this video is. You gotta know something's coming here. So yeah, we got caution along those white fences with those yellow boards, and it's interesting that, like, everything looks like it's supposed to except for those yellow things. So we see the attraction here. We got a big castle. I believe that's where the deers were originally, behind that big castle wall, and a big sign telling us that the attractions, the splash pad, along with the Beluga Cove, is coming up here. Obviously, it looked like another sign was supposed to be on there, but had been removed. You know, I can't speak to what it was advertising at the time. Again, likely those deer or other animal exhibitions here. We got the Polar Splash is what we're coming up to. And again, if you had young kids and you lived in the Niagara Falls area, for like $15 you could get a season pass to come to the splash pad, and that alone I could get my head around bringing your kids here. We see a lot of families with strollers. I'm trying not to be weird and filming by a splash pad. That's something I'm trying to avoid as much as possible, so it is hard to get footage of that. But we do have like ceramic polar bears, ceramic whales, and things like that inside of the splash pad, and you know, I could see it being a very fun time for a kid, the same way that I could see them enjoying the animals without them recognizing just how mistreated these animals are going to be. So this is Beluga Cove is what we're up to now. Again, more yellow barricades not letting us in. Here are the beluga whales coming in and out of the pool. Very blue water. Look like happy enough whales. I have no idea what a happy beluga whale looks like, though. There's multiple of them, though. They're all in there, definitely. And you can imagine, you know, back in the 90s, just how slam-packed this place would be, so filled with people. But ultimately, that's not what we're looking at here. So most of the pool is off limits. We got more educational signs, and the beluga whales are in this area. And those are the only two animal exhibits that are open to the public at this point. The beluga whales, the dolphins that we saw earlier, like, that's it. And you can see there's almost nobody here. So again, I made the point that, you know, there's 10 employees that are working here, and I really do believe that. But even just trying to keep these pools clean and these animals fed, like, man, there's got to be a huge investment. What a money loss that this year must have been for Marineland. There's another shot of the Polar Splash, big ice structure there. But we're going to the underwater viewing area, one of the few things that are still open here. So going to check out the beluga whales that are underwater. And again, if you ever saw the Niagara Falls Marineland commercial when you were a kid growing up in Canada, then, like, this is an iconic shot. This looks so familiar, doesn't it? I'm filming the walls because I don't want families to see me filming children. That's not at all what I'm trying to do. So it's a weird balance here, trying to avoid families, trying to avoid employees. But, like, doesn't this look like the commercial? This is identical to the commercial. That's a beluga whale going right by us. It's hard not to be impressed by that. Again, I hope these animals are very safe and healthy and happy. There's a big write-up about beluga whales because this is an educational facility. This has nothing to do with getting ticket money for whales being stuck in a chlorine pool, but we do see them in that little area. And again, seeing a whale that up close, man, it is impressive. I'm not saying it's right, but it is undeniably an impressive thing to have a whale that close to us with that kind of underwater viewing area. And again, this might be the last time a video is ever taken of that underwater viewing area. So please rewind it, watch it again. We don't want those animals to be in any kind of bad conditions. We don't want those animals to be stuck in that pool necessarily, but we do have the footage now. And I don't know if anyone's been to a circus recently, but I went, maybe 10 years ago, and God, it was sad seeing those animals, specifically the elephants, having to do tricks. And it's a pretty similar feeling here. I will say the first time, this is a shot of the castle that we were looking at where the deer were. We're back outside of the underwater viewing area. I've tried to cut out any time where I'm like doubling back and walking over the same areas that I've already seen, because this is a long video as it is. So, trying to take out anything that's unnecessary, but this is just the walkthrough of the park, trying to give you that full camera view and experience of what it is that we're looking through and trying to pick up the pace a little bit now that we're outside of that area. The first time I had ever come to Marineland earlier this year from when this video was taken, I also went to the Toronto Zoo, and if I'm being completely honest, out of all the animals that I saw from the zoo and Marineland, the only animal that looked sad was the polar bear that was in the Toronto Zoo. And it was, you know, the middle of summer, and he was sitting in the shade, and his fur looked yellow, not white, and that was a very sad-looking animal. The animals, the dolphins, the beluga whales, they didn't strike me as sad when I was watching them when I was in Marineland, but also, what do I know? How would I know if an aquatic animal is sad? It's not like I'm going to see tears. It's not like it's going to come to me and say, I don't want to be here. So it's really hard to get a grasp on that. I do want to believe that the employees that are working here do really care about these animals, but, you know, same thing. I don't know. It's a very hard thing to tell. So we're backtracking here. This is that same filtration area to the right now as you're watching this video that we had seen previously. We're walking towards the Hungry Bear. We're walking back towards those train tracks. But I remind you of those picnic table areas, those big green areas that we had seen just past the yellow barricades telling us do not enter. And as some people go clear, I see, ooh, what's this? This is a nice little path. And there's nothing on this path telling me do not enter. So we've entered here. Surprisingly, amazingly, unbefuddlingly, we have found ourselves in this area. A big green open space here, and you can see the wooden fence just off to the side here. The power wires going just right through, which again, isn't that crazy? They have an amusement park with power lines above. You would think that any kind of amusement park would have those underground by now. But of course, Marineland has been experiencing financial trouble for quite some time at this point. So those kind of upgrades, those kind of updates, they're not necessarily doing that. I am steering clear of the path. I am steering clear of the path as I'm doing this because I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be noticed. So we're in a wide open area. Nothing told me do not enter, but at the same time, I don't want to cause problems for anyone. So we're kind of going through here adjacent to the path. You can see the path there. If I'm being honest, I'm not totally sure what this area is for. I believe this is for like corporate events, corporate areas. There's some structures with picnic tables that we're getting a little bit closer to. That train track is still following all the way through. Again, I don't think there was ever a ride attached to that train track, but leave it in the comments if you know better, if you know that I'm wrong there. And we can see another one of those signs there that would have had the attractions listed and telling us where to go. So this was all a place where, you know, customers, consumers, people enjoying the park would have been, but it's all off limits to the public at this point. And I'm just kind of taking a walk through, showing us here what the path looks like. And again, we're getting closer to that structure. You can see it off in the distance there. That I believe corporate events would have been taking place. We have picnic tables and that sort of thing. So I'm just walking next to the path, staying in the shade, going through the trees here, just getting an idea as to what this full park looks like. Because at this point on the video, I've pretty well shown you everything that was open. The only thing that we haven't done is the gift shop that was inside the change room, that was inside the washroom next to the splash pad. And I could have done a more extensive view of the splash pad, but same thing, there are children there, and I'm not at all interested in filming that, so we're staying away from that area. You can see here just what this area looks like. Again, more of those structures that would have had signs hanging on them telling us which way to go for which attractions, but all attractions are closed, and all those signs are irrelevant, so they've all been taken down. I would love to know if anybody owns those signs at this point, if anybody was purchasing those through some kind of corporate sell-off as these things were going out, or if those all just got thrown into the garbage. The same way that the whale, the killer whale that was on the Marineland sign out front at the start of the video, if that was sold or just ripped down. I have to assume it was the employees, not an angry person, but maybe it was just an angry person. It is just funny that opening sign that the sun stain from the whale is still very much there. So these are these picnic huts that I assume either families or corporate events were going into, where they were barbecuing. You could bring your own food, that sort of thing, because the Hungry Bear is pretty well the only restaurant that I've seen in my travels here, but it's hard to say what kind of pop-up shops and things would have been throughout here. Again, it's surprising to me for an amusement park just how much green open space there is here. I wonder if that was like a requirement or if they were planning on eventually building out here. But if we remember back to the beginning of the video when we were at the washroom and the aquarium there, that section was also off limits, where we had those yellow gates, and I believe it wrapped back into this area here next to these pavilions, and those are picnic tables all lined up underneath those pavilions there, which is I think what this entire area was for. Now, as I said, I had been to Marineland earlier this year once when I first found that season's pass, and I did get a pretty good layout. So I've been to a lot of these areas previously in the year, and that's how I kind of knew how to get around and where to go. I had a pretty good layout in my head of how to get around this place, and at this point, I hadn't been kicked out. I hadn't been stopped by an employee. Actually, the video when we were in the aquarium earlier, the stadium seating, where the employee yelled at me for being up at the top, that was the first time that I had really any interaction with any employees, because again, so few people are working here at this point. And it's a shame. I am glad that this video didn't come out when Marineland was still operational, because I would hate to be giving people information on how to do these things or where to go within the park when they're not supposed to. But now that this is a historical piece of film, this is the kind of thing that would never exist again. I do feel like it's appropriate to show it and just kind of what was going on this last year at Marineland. So again, this isn't me breaking in when the park is closed. This is very much me coming in there when it was operational and having a pass, even though that's not my pass and no one checked for my pass because the employees weren't paying attention. But has anybody ever had a job like that where nothing matters and people are very aware that like it's coming to an end? Because that is the feeling inside of the park, and I have to assume that the employees were at least having a good summer with that. Now, there's the opposite side of that. I know everyone wants to demonize Marineland and make them seem like the bad guys here, but you got to consider some of these employees probably worked at this park for years and years and years. And so they probably did develop a relationship, not just with the other employees or the customers coming in, but the park itself, as well as the animals. So there is some sadness to this, and I do want to keep that in mind as we're going through here. Again, I believe that's the path that takes us back to the washroom from the beginning there. But we're going to take this left path here and just go a little bit deeper into the park. We see piles and piles of picnic tables, and much like my point about the parking lot when we first saw it earlier in this video, that I do believe these were necessary. These aren't extras. This is like how full the park was and how many picnic tables were being used. I'm sure that entire green space was just littered with these things, and people were using them all the time. So again, just trying to give us some context here. I believe we're coming up to the backside of what that castle was. Obviously, we weren't able to get into the castle. I believe that was the deer viewing area, but we're coming up on the backside of that. So we're just doing a big circle here from where we had seen previously, where we had previously been in that video. And I am starting to get the vibe that this is a little bit more of like a service area. This is the kind of place where they had bigger trucks going to another filtration system. That's what I believe this road is that we're here. I don't believe this was ever a place where we had customers going. I could be wrong on that. I don't really know here, but yeah, even this gate is wide open here. Maybe when the full park was open, that gate remained closed just to keep people out of here. But you can definitely feel a difference even just in the asphalt of the prior to right now. Right now, it definitely feels like, this is a little more off the beaten path. This is a little further away from where people would have been hanging out and perusing and being a part of it. So, again, as much as I would love to be mean to Marineland here, wouldn't this be a nice day? Just walking around in the beautiful sunshine, everything's green, everything's lush. And we are going to see a lot of that in this video. As much as I go through as much of Marineland as I possibly can, there's a lot of service trails throughout this park. This is a very wide swath of ground, and we do go through a lot of these kind of areas where we're going to get, even further off the beaten path here, where we have less asphalt, less understanding, but very much service areas where it feels like. Now, I will throw out the idea that I've been told about whale graveyards, about the bones of these large mammals, these large marine animals that got buried around Marineland. Obviously, nothing's marked. There's no gravestone. There's no indicators there. So I do get a little uncomfortable in some of these places as to like, what exactly am I looking at? Where exactly were these things buried? It's hard to tell. We're coming to a crossroads here. Again, you can see the big Marineland towers to give you an identifier as to where we are and what we're doing here. As we cross that little service area, if my memory serves me correct, there was a trailer there. There was a little bit of construction work. Again, I have to assume they were getting ready to tear this place down and piece by piece start ripping it apart. There's that same train track that we've seen multiple times. Again, reasonably straight line. And this is why I believe that we are at the backside of the castle here, because this is definitely a deer park. Now, the first time I came down this road, it's not on film here, but the first time earlier in in the summer when I had come down here, there were literally hundreds of deer in that park. There were hundreds of deer in that park. And again, I make the point that this is completely off limits. All the deer viewing experience has been closed. The castle is not open. It wasn't open at any point during 2024. So why were all these deer here? I guess you can't just release them into the wild. If they've been captive animals for this long into their life, then you can't just remove them. But by the same token, it is strange to me that all these animals are here. I guess you could have taken them to... oh, there's one. There's one white deer. And I know it's like... it sounds like I'm making up stories, and you're more than welcome to believe that. All of this is allegedly. But yeah, there were like what I felt like hundreds of deer in that pen when I first came by. And that's not cheap to keep any of those things alive. I'm glad there's at least one deer on the footage so that I'm not completely crazy as we're going through here. All right, now we're coming up to another crossroads. The other side of there. So this is more of that filtration. Again, this was never supposed to be the side that was seen by the public. It's a big old dumpster there, as well as those filtration pieces. Now, just down that path right there, I believe loops us back to the splash pad. This is, again, the filtration in the dumpster section. To the left, that path, just a little bit further than my camera is showing, that would take us directly back to the splash pad, towards the washroom, towards the gift shop, as it were. Now, we're off a path here. We're clearly out of asphalt, and we're on to stone, pebble ground here. And this is where things start getting weird because, again, I would have been stopped immediately had I been trying to go through any of the paved areas at this point because they had those yellow barricades routinely throughout the park where... This is a section where I'm at least not being bothered. There's no employees here. It's hard to say I'm even up to shenanigans at this point. Like, what am I possibly doing here? There's nothing around me. This is all just grass and granite. So we're going to take a little bit of walk just to kind of check the place out and see what we got going on here. I do like make decisions as I'm filming this video as to what makes sense to see, what makes sense not to see, and like right there, I'm making a decision. Okay, we clearly saw that green path off to the side of the stone path, and I'm going, well, if I'm here, we may as well do all of it. So we're going to go up the green path here. Not that I think this is too fruitful in sense of seeing too much, but if we're going to do it for the last time, if we're going to have one video comprehensively showing everything that's going on in Marineland, then why not? And also trying to get my bearings, because again, I've been on this stone path before, but still not quite sure of where everything is. This is the second time that I've ever been in Marineland in my life, and trying to use my memory as best I can to get an idea as to what's going on and where I am, but not wanting to get lost, not wanting to have to call people and say like, hey, I've got myself too deep here, I need someone to come get me. And certainly not wanting to get kicked out before my project is completed. So there's some of the major thoughts and concerns going through my head at this point. And you can sense that I'm getting a little bit lower as we go up here. We're becoming very visible at this point. We're getting to the very tip top of this little mountain. You can see the top of a ride there. Again, everything you're seeing right now is pretty well Marineland. All that greenery there. This is a large swath of land. Again, I keep showing that tower just to give us some indication as to where we are within the park. If you Google the Marineland map, the original, like the brochure they would have given you had you come to the map in the early 2000s, late 90s, they would show it to you. Just off to the side there, we saw more of that filtration center there for the water, and we were able to see some of the Niagara Falls skyline. Birds chirping. Again, it is just a beautiful day. It's the perfect day to do this. This is late August in 2024, and again, not an easy thing to get accomplished, but something that I genuinely felt like we needed to make sure that this happened. I do wish I had a team with me. I think it would have been harder to get to the places that we needed to get to, but also it would have made it a lot easier. I'm hoping that by the time I get to the top of this thing that I give you guys at least a good look around, but I can't guarantee anything here because, again, I am nervous. I am getting freaked out that I'm being too visible, being seen here, and that there's someone coming after me. And again, ultimately, it's just me holding a camera. So my eyes are taking things in, but I'm not always totally aware as to what the camera is getting in. I'm not looking through my phone as I'm doing this. I'm just holding my phone as I'm walking around. And that is some of the reason that I also cut out the backtracking here. The video is long enough, but also I didn't want to run out of storage space, because the idea that I get this deep, do all this work, and then I run out of storage on my phone would have been just an absolute nightmare. So, yeah, quick little panoramic. You can look over Marineland there, again, seeing some idea of just how far this all is. And I'm letting everyone know, we get to all of it. Everything that you're looking at, we go through all of it. So this is all on the table for us as we start going through. Now, this is me coming down the mountain. I would have assumed that, I had turned my camera off, but evidently not. So if it does switch over, I apologize for that, but it's looking like it is the full walk down the mountain here. Again, what is this trail? I couldn't even tell you. It does appear like a service track, but where is it going and why is it going there? I have a hard time telling you on that one. It does look like there are clear tire tracks on the grass there. It does look like, an ATV of some sort that we've seen driving through the park was going around here. Maybe this was a spot for like employees to take a break and where they would kind of hide off. I don't really know. But we do see that this is definitely a used trail. This is definitely something with tire tread marks onto it. And maybe they were going to build that, because there does seem to be some rides that they were working on and then trying to improve, trying to add to the park as things were going. Obviously, with the park going out of business and becoming unoperational, then those plans got kind of changed there. But we clearly see some progress trying to be made here. And I'm just making my way back to that stone path that we started on, because that, to me, is where we get to the real interesting stuff, the real meat of this video here, the stuff that I was most excited to see. And the only thing I will say that kind of sucks about this is, when I first walked through Marineland, I had a much easier time getting everywhere. It felt like there was a lot less going on. There were a lot less vehicles and trucks and people in the back half, the sections that are where the rides were and where I'm heading to right now. But this walkthrough, there's a lot more people, there's a lot more construction, and that does kind of halt some of the video, some of the ability to take the videos that I was looking for. So, some of that gets stunted. We do see the majority, if not all of it, but I would have loved to have lingered on some of these shots a little bit longer before people were able to cause problems for me, as it were. Now, I will throw out the idea that it does sound crazy, me saying that it's, it's overrun with people, as there's literally no one around and nothing going on here. So we're back to that stone path. That was a quick little side tangent there. That green path, again, back to the filtration center and the deer park down that way. So we're walking back up this stone path here with very little indication as to what it is that we're walking into, where it is that we're going. Storm clouds overhead, and I'm nervous about that. This would be a terrible thing if this rained us out here, but we're just going to get over this ridge here of this stone path as we're going through before we're able to go to our next section. And at least at this point, I feel quite safe, very tucked in. But there is the reality, knowing that if a car came up, like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to hide? I'm not going to hide in the thorn bushes, and they'd still very easily see me. And if I had that conversation with them, then, what excuse could I possibly give for being here? So it is nerve-wracking walking through here, as it's very clear that this is not where you're supposed to be, and I've definitely lost my way. I was just trying to find the washroom, but, quite obviously I'm able to pee into these bushes if possible, if necessary. Just at the end of this path, we start to make out some kind of structure here, some kind of idea as to what it is that we're back here for. Again, this is a service access route, obviously. That's why we maintain the path here as Marineland has, despite the fact that this would not be a commercial area. This would not be a place for customers, people visiting the park to be going through. So there's definitely a reason, and that's kind of what my nose keeps following here. But again, the reality of coming across a whale graveyard, something like that, I have no idea, right? I'm pretty lost on all that. But we got a building now, and the first time coming in here, getting nervous of the idea of, oh God, what is a building going to be? Is this more filtration? Is this where the employees are? There's no real telling on any of this stuff. So we got a couple of paths here, left and right, just kind of checking this place out and trying to get a full view as to what's going on here. So we got the full back of the building, and we're going to take that left down here. We got a big, long building. Again, could be anything in there from my eyes as we're going through this. But we start to see some familiar things, some things that we're used to and expecting at an amusement park. And we're coming across roller coaster tracks. So this building was evidently the start of somewhere for that roller coaster, completely boarded up, completely sectioned off. But these are all the service entrances in and out of this roller coaster that goes into the forest there. A little picnic table there, obviously for the employees. Again, we're doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff right now, but that was, one section of the roller coaster. I've never been on this roller coaster. I've never been to Marineland when these rides were operational, so if anyone's got any ideas as to what it was like going through there, again, I've never seen a roller coaster boarded up like that. I've seen dilapidated roller coasters plenty of times, but ones that go through a building, I think about like the Italian Job at Wonderland, where they go through a building, and that's what that one struck me as there at Marineland, but it's all boarded up to try and keep animals out of there. And isn't that ironic? They're trying to keep out raccoons and critters when they've been holding animals captive for all this time. So then we're coming around here, and you see another path, and things start to seem a little bit more animated, a little bit more pleasant to the customer, and I'm pointing directly at that right there, that faux stone as we see there, where we've had a lot of right-angled concrete, very much not for the consumer, for anybody to be seeing, where that faux stone starts to look like, this is starting to look like what the customer, what the paying consumer would be seeing. Again, these paths don't seem like a lot of people walk them. They seem like they are very much there for ATVs, for different tired vehicles. But you can see the stone path coming up ahead of us here, and that all looks more structured. That looks more the way that we would expect consumers to be seeing these things. It's hard to even get a grip on like what's real and what's man-made at this point, because we know that that slight mountain there to my left was very much built on top of the building that we just saw, or right in front of it. So trying to get that indicator. And there we go. We can see the entrance to that ride, to that attraction there. Again, boarded up with that faux stone in front of it and on top of it. If somebody finds a link to a full walkthrough of this place, there's some roller coaster tracks there. If anyone gets a full video of a Marineland walkthrough from like 1995, please drop that in the comments, because I would love to be able to connect these two things here. And what are these big teeth here? We're seeing a big dragon mouth entrance there. Again, all boarded up. We can't get into any of these places, and I'm not trying to monkey or cause too much problem for anybody here, but yeah, we have that whole building all boarded up there. There's the other side, and we're seeing some color, but if you notice that, there's a truck there. There's a pickup truck that was just in that last shot, and that is what freaks me out the most here, where I don't want employees seeing me, causing problems for me, trying to stop my video, as it were. So I'm getting a little bit lower. I'm getting a little bit more nervous, but I'm just making my way through this stone path and making my way through this this area. That this is definitely for the customer. This is definitely for the consumer. This is where people were supposed to be. Obviously, a little less maintenance going on here. That's why we get the weeds, everything overgrowing. And good Lord, would I love to see what Marineland looks like now. I'm sure that it's been, they've started to rip it up and they started to make the changes as they would for the next level of development of what they're going to do with the Marineland area. But man, to see this place all overgrown as it was starting to in 2024, I think would be very exciting. I think it'd be a very fun time to go through there. And I'm just waiting to hear trucks moving, things coming by. You can hear birds chirping, and that's a pretty good indication of like, okay, I think the coast is clear. I don't think anyone's around here. This seems like a lineup, a section where people were lining up for the ride, that Dragon's Mouth ride, that roller coaster. But I believe I did hear a truck earlier at this point, and that's why I'm starting to move a little bit slower, getting a little bit more nerve-wracked as to what's happening. Oh yeah, you can hear a vehicle going by. Getting closer. Now, whether that's a vehicle going by or a machine being used, very hard to tell at this point. I do love the structuring of Marineland. I think the architecture is just beautiful here. I think this is all fun, whimsical, slightly medieval as a theming. I don't really understand that, how that connects to Marineland necessarily, but I do think it's fun. I do think it's a nice look. And look at how fresh and new that ride looks. Like bright red paint. It looks great. Now we're taking a little trip through, again, the amusement park area. Pickup truck. Wasn't there the last time I was here earlier in this summer. So that's why I'm so particularly nervous about that and freaked out about that. We saw some more of that roller coaster track just to my left there. There's a lot of movement, but for the most part, those are seagulls. Again, beautiful ride. Can't believe how fresh the paint looks on that. We see the roller coaster. We see all these huts. You can only imagine that these were serving, drinks, ice creams, those kind of things, tickets, photos. It is my guess. I've never been here when this place was operational. Again, we got that Marineland tower there, just giving us some idea. Onto my right here, as you're watching this video, that's the bear pit. Yeah, there we go. Good shot of that. There's the bear pit. And we take that look around. A lot of seagulls there. They all feel very calm and relaxed there. This is all off limits at this point. This is all stuff that was, past the past those yellow barricades, beyond what the consumer was supposed to see. We got another dilapidated ride, some kind of teacups type ride, something like that, up ahead here. Now, that path to the left, you can either go up to the tower, just a little further up that, or past that would take us directly back to the splash pad, to the gift shop, where we briefly went. Again, just trying to give us some indication. That path there, again, the other side of that, halfway up will take you to the tower, and then if you keep going all the way, that'll take you back to the splash pad. And we'll get up there eventually. In my head, the tower was going to be the hardest thing to get up to, so I did want to try and save that for later on in the video, was my intention. I figured the longer it took for someone to find me, the easier it would be for me to get out unscathed. Now, the real tricky part I'm having here is I'm freaked out about the seagulls, because I do feel like if an employee saw a full flock of seagulls all flying away at once, that they would be concerned and going, huh, something's probably going on there. But you can hear in the background, there are machines and vehicles operating throughout this park. They're they're working on reconstructing the place. As well, we're not too far from a highway, and that was kind of my only saving grace. If you've been to Niagara Falls, if you've been to Marineland, there's very busy roads right around this park. So I was comforted by the fact that at least the sounds might not be coming from within inside the park, but it is very much hard to tell. So another shot here of another dilapidated ride. The ride is just kind of being left there. It's almost crazy that people without a house aren't sleeping in these kind of places, because this seems like it's wide open, and who's checking on this routinely? Maybe they do check every morning, I don't know. But it does seem kind of crazy here. There's a big old pelican. There's a lot of animal life in this place. There's a lot of water. And I will also say, again, as a place to get some exercise, get some fresh air, this is a nice little bridge to be on, man. I know, it's a couple of seagulls, and I hate to be disrupting you guys, because it's probably been a while since anybody disrupted you, but man, this is a nice little area. Got a plane going overhead, again, spooking me, freaking me right out. What appears to be a ticket booth here. Everything's got this medieval style to it, architecture to it. I don't totally understand that or what that has to do with anything. And it's hard to say what's overgrown and what was intentional, because it all just looks like the end of a bridge, nothing but greenery, and then that building. Was there another path there to go a little further? Was there something happening in the water? I don't know. I would have to assume the ducks are not being fed by the park. I think these are just naturally occurring. But it's very hard to tell without having been here in 1995 and comparing it to what they used to do. So just taking some trips over the bridge. Again, I can only imagine how full this place must have been on a regular business operational day during the summer, during the 90s. This place was probably just packed with people, but it is so desolate. I am so by myself, and as much as I'm nervous of getting caught here, there is also the feeling of like, man, there is no one around for a long, long time. And so this big circle takes us back almost to where the beluga whales were, in the underwater viewing area. I think we're just on the other side of that now. Again, the tower there is kind of just my only indicator, telling me where I am and how far away I am from where I started. It's not very easy. I did end up finding a full map of Marineland. Again, those kind of brochures they would have given you had you come to the park in the 90s. I did find one of those online, so that is very much available and accessible to you if you want to follow along here as you're going along. And that's what I believe made the most sense, but it's not the easiest thing to try and track out in my head, especially with no signs, especially with everything so overgrown and just kind of dead, as it were. Again, the attraction signs were there, but they've all been taken down. There's got to be a warehouse somewhere on the property of just all those signs, or they've been sold. It's very hard to get a read on for sure on that. Every time I come around the corner here, it's just kind of terrifying that, like, is someone sitting there? Is somebody waiting to catch me? And again, we have another ride, dilapidated. This one at least has coverings over the seats, which is surprising because the other ones were just kind of sitting out there. Some kind of drop tower, something along those lines. It's hard to know for sure. The big drop tower's in the background. Telling you the ride's out of service. There's a sign there saying that the ride's out of service. Like, yeah, how long has that been sitting there? We're in literally the back of the park. It's off limits to the public. Does there need to be a sign telling you that also the ride is not operational? It's covered with the different protective coverings. Like, yeah, we're very aware of that. There's a swing ride, the big chain swings ride, which is one of my personal favorites. Big fan of that ride. Same thing, not covered up, just sitting out in the sun. No one's been using it, unless the employees are using it, which would actually make me happy. I would be pretty excited about finding out that situation. I'm starting to hear a little bit of noise, and that's why if you go around that corner, that's where we're back to the splash pad, the other side of the splash pad, closer to the beluga viewing area. And if, you know, we remember back to the deer park being a castle as the motif, then it almost starts to explain why everything has that medieval architecture to it. Again, I don't understand how it connects to Marineland, but we're seeing a lot of that animal there, or sorry, a lot of that architecture and a lot of that style there. So I'm turning back at that point. We're getting a little too close back to what we've already seen, the underwater beluga viewing area, and just trying not to get spotted as we're going through this. I don't want to break my momentum, as it were. Backtracking now. Personally, I do love seeing this kind of stuff, the old rides, the actual path. When we start getting into some of the service areas is when I start removing the backtracking that I'm doing. I start taking those videos out. Please feel free to scroll forward. We are going to come up to one of the more interesting sections of it, and admittedly one of the more controversial sections of this entire video, because I know what I saw and I know what I experienced. It doesn't necessarily get captured on video. I'm going to give you my honest interpretation of it. You can do what you will. Now, during this time, there was a video going around virally where somebody had flown a drone over Marineland and saw an animal in a tank that didn't look like it was in the healthiest of conditions. And they started calling Marineland and trying to talk to head office, trying to talk to people, and they kept getting hung up on. They kept getting people putting them on hold for quite some time. They were asking to take the animal themselves and bring it to a sanctuary, and again, kind of being given the runaround. The validity on any of that stuff, I don't know. I can't speak to that. I can only speak to my experience and what I actually saw and went through, and that is right here. So right here is a section that there's definitely more of a camera on. I don't know if it gets captured here. It's going to be on the left of this stone wall as we're coming around. That's why I'm being pretty tight to that corner there. But there is what appeared to be a security camera in that section. This is not the beluga viewing area that we had seen earlier with the underwater viewing connection there, which is originally what I thought it was, the other side of that barricade. It's not. There we go. We start getting a little bit more of it. And again, just on that side there, there's going to be a security camera that really freaks me out. With all that said, my interpretation of that was that there was a very green body of water in that tank there, and there was definitely something swimming in that water. So that was my interpretation of that section, but I am freaked out beyond belief to be anywhere near this because there is very much a camera and a security system that I felt like was watching me, and again, not wanting to get kicked out. I'm not an animal rights activist, you know. I had a great time going through Marineland in the sense that I was obsessed with this place. I love abandoned places. That's really what's capturing my eye, but I'm not doing this as if I'm trying to save these whales or save these dolphins, save these animals. That's not what I'm here for. Of course, I hope for the best for the animal. I don't get any pleasure in the animal being captive, and I do think, if anything, that kind of detracts from the video and from the experience that I'm having. Because I really just want to walk around the dilapidated amusement park, and I would like it if there was less animals, because I feel like there'd be less people, and they're the ones who are really causing me a problem. Now, there is some kind of underground section here, and it's hard to tell whether this was like an underwater viewing area or if this was a filter area. There's clearly a sign that said entrance, and I believe this one also says exit over here on this side. It's hard to tell the exact purpose of what this section was for, though. Just because the doors are very much locked, and I'm nervous to go poking around in through anywhere. You'll notice that I have a pretty serious rule with any of this stuff, where I'm not trying to be a problem. I'm not trying to go into places that I'm not supposed to. That's why I'm not touching any of the rides. As much as I find it cool, I don't want to disrupt that. That's not my property. That's not what I'm here to do. Same thing, I don't want to try these doors on the off chance that there's somebody on the other side of that door and ask me what in the heck I'm doing there. So yeah, we can see that exit sign there real briefly. Again, this is just behind that that little body of water that we saw earlier. My only interpretation is what I saw and what I thought I saw, and that was green water with a marine animal in it. Again, it's very hard for me to give any kind of definitive proof. If I was brought to court, I wouldn't even be able to testify because I was so nervous about a camera being there that I did move pretty quickly past it, not just in this video, but the first time that I was through. And there was a security camera, the type of thing you would see like at a Walmart parking lot in a sketchier area late at night with the blue flashing light. That was the kind of thing that I had seen and was nervous about, and it just felt like that was the most likely area of me getting captured or caught by the employees that were there. Now, from here on in the video, we get into some bizarre territory that I couldn't even give you a definite answer as to what is going on in the video or where in the heck I am. Again, I have no context as to what Marineland was like, so I'm about to take a left here, and you'll see there is just another little path over the other side of the trail straight ahead there, and I'm going to get back to those paths, but as of right now, I'm going to just start taking this left, and I'm going to start taking every path that I see, and a lot of them seem like they are service paths, and a lot of them are off the beaten trail, I guess I could say. Like, there's nothing going on out here. It's so much greenery, it's so much open space. I don't know if they have zoo exhibits, that's almost what it feels like at times. I'm not sure what the heck was going on at Marineland in these places. You can see me taking that look there. Clearly a service trail, that's why it's stone and it's not like a solid asphalt path. But I decided, no, alright, I'm here. I gotta go down there. So I started making my way down there. Again, this is about, I believe, when I start having those considerations of, oh no, do I have enough spots, enough space on my phone, rather? Will I take this up? Geez, I apologize for how much I'm shaking and moving in this one. I think I was just trying to get off the trail there in case someone was coming, trying to kind of stash myself. But yeah, that was very shaky camera work there for a bit, and I do apologize for that. Again, if nothing else, I think this video does give an idea as to just how enormous the grounds of Marineland really are. That's about as far as I go down that path. You can see the spin around. I'm heading back. Again, a lot of just green space at this point. I don't have a ton of commentary for this. I would love to have an employee break down what it is that I'm seeing, what they experience. I would imagine not a lot of employees are willing to talk on this. Like, how many of the employees that worked here actually went through any of these service areas? How many of them would be willing to speak on it? Even my point about the idea of, like, the graveyards of the animals. Is there any verification of that? I'm sure animals were treated very poorly at Marineland. I believe that entirely. But, like, everything that I'm seeing right now, I don't think too much could be buried there. Now, the place did open in the 60s, right? So, like, ideals and morals were pretty different by the 60s. But also, you know, things could have grown over. It's very hard to tell, and I don't have a great idea of that. I'm not an information guy. I'm just a guy who, like, kind of going into abandoned parks. I really did hope that the place would have opened in 2025. It didn't. It remained closed. Yeah, 1961 the place opened, and I didn't get there until 2024, literally the last year of this. You can sense that I'm pausing. I'm making sure that there's no one around here. Again, just trying to keep myself out of trouble. And really just, like, wanting to see the whole park. I don't even think legally I could get in any trouble from having walked around these areas, because, like, I had a pass on me. I was a paying customer. They were open. And I haven't even crossed a barrier at this point. Again, that was a wide open green field that I went into. There was no indication that I shouldn't be here, other than, like, it's creepy and spooky and very isolated. That is really the only thing telling me that I shouldn't be in this area. More of a gut feeling than anything else. Back to a paved path, some fencing there. Again, hard to tell how well maintained was this place when it was open in 2023. I got no idea. But, like, what is the attraction at this point? What is the exhibit that's even being shown? Because it's a lot of greenery. It's a lot of big space. It's a lot of landmass. But there's not a whole lot going on. It feels like we've covered the animals. We've covered the rides. And then there's all this extra space, which maybe it was just intended for people to go for a nice walk through greenery instead of being in downtown Niagara Falls. You know, we're not too far from Clifton Hill here, is the truth, right? So it's obviously a very commercial area, a lot of places that are very much paved and electronics and LED boards and trying to sell you things and advertisements. That's not what this is, so maybe that was the experience they were trying to sell to people. Really gets weird here where we start getting into, again, more stone path, as if, like, okay, was this the end of the attraction? But what a weird way to end the attraction. You can see that fence there, and there's, like, big cages attached to the fence. Were there animals in those? I don't know. It almost looks like the kind of thing that would hold a tiger, but, like, there's no way they just had tigers sitting in those cages waiting for people to walk by. Everything about that just seems completely insane. And there's just piles of rubble, piles of garbage throughout here. It's hard to say what got moved in there after this section got closed and what just operated like this for the full 60 years of the operation of this park. Now again, we're clearly on a service road at this point. Dirt paths here, just checking the place out. I apologize for how much I'm breathing on microphone on this one. That's the exhausting part, but there is a tremendous amount of walking being done here. And so I am very much out of breath at this point. You can hear me breathing as I'm walking through there. This was a lot of kilometers walked. This is a lot of steps taken throughout this experience. walking alongside that fence. I guess people were supposed to be inside that fence. Again, I couldn't tell you what the attraction was supposed to be inside the fence. This seems like a service area, or a service road, as it were, and I'm only judging that based on the fact that it looks like there's, you know, tire marks, that vehicles were going along here. You can see the tower in the background there, again, trying to give some indication of just how far we've gone here, how far away from that tower, that central point of the park that we've gotten through this walk. You can also get a sense of why this is definitely a place where vehicles are used, why they had those ATVs or different vehicles to operate on these paths, because this is an impossibly long walk to go through. And again, I'll point out that anything I'm doing, I got to backtrack here, and all that gets cut out because it'd be twice as long, and this is a long enough video and experience as it was. Now this will get a little bit confusing. We come to a crossroads here as we're going along. Some of it definitely looks more paved, more of a pathway than otherwise. Again, that's the fence that we've been following this whole time. There's that section. Does seem to be more of a paved path than the dirt road that we're going to go down here. We're taking the other road, essentially, and just kind of trying to check everything out here. So we're going to try to go to all sections here. We're going to try to show everything, but it is a lot of ground to cover, undeniably. And you can still hear vehicles in the background, and of course my own paranoia going, are they coming for me? Are they looking for me? Have they been tipped off that I'm here? Who can tell? Definitely into a service area. Looking at a pile of dilapidated different pieces here. None of this strikes me as this stuff's only thrown here because the park is closing. This all just seems like this is kind of where they chuck stuff. dying to come across just a pile of the signs telling us where the attractions were. We're pretty well at the limits of the park there. That's pretty well, back end of the park. That's telling us that the limits of that property have been hit there. Piles of fence. Again, hard to say whether that stuff's there because they're chaining stuff off and they're trying to change around the barriers or everything, or if that's just where they keep their extra chain link. It's very hard to tell. Getting ourselves back to that fork in the road. There's the tower. One more time for a little bit of consistency. And we're going to try our luck here at this other service road before we go down the more paved path and into that fenced area. We don't got a ton. It's pretty well a dead end there, and I'm also definitely exhausted. You can tell. And so we're gonna head into the fenced area. We're gonna try to take this paved path. Now at this point, hearing helicopters in the background, sometimes I can still hear vehicles going. There is a real feeling of like, there's no chance anyone knows that I'm here. If anyone knew that I was here, they'd be coming flying out trying to get me. And there's a real sense of like, no, this is completely in the wilderness. I am cotton in the wind, as it were. They got no idea that I'm here, and no one is searching around this area. This seems like a completely forgotten about area. Maybe this is somewhere that was like monitored and taken care of in 2023, but by 2024, this is forgotten about entirely. Again, very interested, absolutely, as to what in the heck this part of the park was even for. What was the attraction here? It's definitely a fenced-in area, definitely a paved lot, but no concept of any even signs, any indicators as to what could be here. That's that same red amusement park ride that we had seen earlier when we first got to this section of the park, but we're a ways away from it. There's a full fence in between us, and no real indication as to what was going on here. I have a hard time believing that this was just a service area. So again, maybe just a scenic place to walk. Maybe they had more animals in here. I don't know. There's very little indicators as to what this part of the park was for. section at some point. It couldn't have been like an interactive animal section, you know? It's not like they could have had deer running around inside of this greenery. There were those cages there that were attached to the fence, so maybe something was in there. There's one. There's a good shot of it. But man, to have kept an animal in that cage that small, it almost seems like how would the aquatic animals have been the problem? How would that have been what people were complaining about? If they had something inside of there, that seems like another issue. Again, if you were ever at Marineland, saw anything going on in this section, know what's going on, please leave it in the comments. I'm fascinated by this place. I would love to know what was going on there. Yeah, that seems almost worse than any of the marine animals if they had animals just living in that little section there. I don't know if it translates onto the camera, but we're definitely just going in a big circle here. We're heading back to that original spot where we came into the fenced-in area, that same paved path. It's doing a big loop. We're getting closer to that red amusement park ride that we had seen earlier in the day. But again, we're on the other side of a whole lot of weeds and bushes and fence before we get to that side. There is a hut in here, so like it has to have been part of the attraction. Again, same thing with the paved path, the fact that we're inside of the fence. Something was going on here. Yeah, it almost hits me like, was this a bike path, something like that? But that's pure speculation. I really don't know. That mountain is where we were climbing up earlier. Just trying to give some context as to where we are throughout this park. Almost looked like a picnic bench. I don't think it was. You do get a sense there of the water just in the center. Again, I can't imagine they had fishing there, but little dock lookouts, things like that, start to be presented there. It's hard to tell with everything being so overgrown just what that would have been used for, what that would have looked like without the advent of everything being closed. If everything was open, what that would have encapsulated for us for this experience. back to that starting point there. That was the full loop around there. So again, my best indicator is that that was just a nice scenic part of the park to walk, to view greenery, to look at the water, maybe those dock lookout places. That's about all I could see going on in there. Maybe they had animals in those cages, but like there was no roof on them. It couldn't have been a tiger. It couldn't have been a bear. Even a deer being alone in that spot doesn't seem like a very good setup or a very healthy thing for anybody. So it's really hard to indicate as to what was going on in that section of the park. All right, and we're back. We're doing a little bit further here as we're going along. Again, we're back to those service roads. I think I cut out all the backtracking that we had done. That's why we're back on the service roads here. We're not doing that full lap from the fence. Again, without the camera going, I'm able to go a little bit faster. I don't have to hold my arm steady. Yeah, like there's nothing strapping my phone to me. I'm sure you can tell by the quality of the camera footage here, but that really is just me holding it and going along. So if I can do that and remove any of the monotony of having seen that same part of the walk without doing it a second time. I'm just trying to backtrack and cover any of those employee paths, any of those paths that kind of side tangents. I can't imagine that this was ever intended for people to walk. This is really, I assume, just trucks going along. But again, you know, all those rumors of whale graveyards and things like that. I'm not to say that it's impossible. This kind of strikes me as like this would be the area off the side of these paths if it was taking place, where it would be. And if anyone has any access to that kind of information, please let me know. Please feel free to throw that in the comments or send me a link as to where we can stick those things. And then we come across these big piles of garbage, just skids and scraps, and everything gets getting thrown here. Again, none of that tells me that this is like because the park is closed. It all just strikes me as this is where they get rid of these kind of things. This is where they throw stuff. Just taking a boo through. There's nothing of any real quality from what I was seeing there. Nothing that really struck me as like high value stuff that they had collected from around the park. It really does all seem like scraps. That's why I do believe in like one of the aquariums, the auditoriums is probably where they have the signage all thrown, if they haven't sold it all, because this is just, you know, brush and skids and junk from around doing business rather. you can get the sense of just like how far into the park I'm getting, how reasonably lost I'm getting. I'm trying to keep things all in a straight line, but yeah, especially right through this section here, we start to get the sense of like, man, I'm not even sure how often trucks are coming through this area. That's definitely what this area is for. You can definitely get that sense. But just like, how long have these gone unoccupied, unseen, and really no excuse, no idea what to say if somebody came along, if something was going on here. I genuinely wouldn't know even how to explain for getting into it. It does feel a little bit like Jurassic Park, almost like the water inside of a Tyrannosaurus footprint. That is kind of the sense that I get in this section of the park. And now that we're back to trees again, there's no real sense that anything could be buried here. I don't get the sense that there could be anything nefarious going on in this park. This all just strikes me as a service area, but how often it gets used seems like it has been a long time since something's gone through here. I guess maybe I shouldn't say that. The tire tracks are reasonably fresh if it's wet water, or sorry, wet mud there, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I am so far in the park. I am completely devoid and separated from the rest of the paying customer. I feel like even seeing the tower, the Marineland tower that we've seen so often through this video, I'm so far away from that. It seems like we are in another universe at this point. Pretty well turned back and went, yeah, I'm way too far. Now we're back at a crossroads here. Again, with everything looking so similar, it does all start to feel very much the same. And where do we go from here? So I do those little spin arounds just to kind of give you an idea of like, yep, this is a place that we've already been. Here are the two places that we've gone already, and trying down on a new path here, trying to see what other shenanigans we can find. When we were going through the sections of like the animals, the amusement park, that was all stuff that I had been to previously this summer. At this point, as we're going through these back paths and service entrances, I got no idea what's coming up. I got no idea what we're seeing. It's all very much a surprise for myself as well, and just trying to be careful that I don't get somewhere that I shouldn't be too far, that I don't get myself into any kind of problems here. But you see, now that section right there on the right, where we got very low grass areas next to the very big sections of trees, that does freak me out. That does feel like, well, if there was gonna be something buried, it would be in a section like that, right, where there's not large trees on top of itself, because some of these trees have been there for quite some time. The park's been open since '61, and some of these trees have probably been there the entire time, but also those big flat sections, maybe the stuff doesn't grow there. I'm not a geologist, but there's a real sense that like something could be going on there. We are making our way back into civilization. We're making ourselves back to a reasonable path, a normal pathway here. And we're getting ourselves into some buildings. The buildings always freak me out because generally they're attached to security cameras. The likelihood of someone watching, of seeing me is going up that much higher. Again, we can see that there's scraps, there's piles of stuff everywhere. We're still very much in a section of, this is behind the eyes of the public. What I assume is like a filter building, some kind of receptacle where we don't. I don't believe that this is in any way an office building. Those are all up front or the very back. This does feel like more of a filter building. That's why we have those barrels, those buckets, those skids, different chemicals coming in and out. Is the assumption that I have there, but it is very hard to tell. we're getting into a little bit more whimsical architecture now, or at least at the back of a building that feels like the medieval style there. You can also see the big top there. What was that, the swing ride that we had seen previously? And we're starting to get the sense that we're getting closer and closer, a little bit back into civilization. All right, this is all the familiar stuff. Unwound ourselves all the way back there. We did get like pretty well just behind the amusement park rides that we had seen before there, and at that point we were just looping ourselves. I think we covered all the service trails on that side, so we're coming back, past the gated big circle that we had done, back towards that lagoon that I was freaked out about, where there was a security camera and what I claimed to be green water, but didn't get it on camera. So take that as you will. And if you remember, as we were coming out of that exit there, where we had those underground places that we weren't able to go into, there was a path just along on the other side of the ridge. So that's what we're coming up to here, and that's what I'm going to try to get into as we continue on our little tour here through Marineland. Again, I want to avoid any kind of birds. I don't want to upset them. I don't want them flying because I feel like that attracts unnecessary attention. I'm going to cut down here. We're going to go down this little path here. On the backside of those amusement park rides, some of those stuff that we had seen when we were crossing the bridges and around the waterways, and that's that same red ride that we had seen multiple times. Between that and the Marineland Tower, I really do appreciate those kind of touchstones as to just where we are. Because again, this is clearly an employee-only entrance. Is definitely the vibe that it gets, just by the fact that it's not paved. Definitely look like there's tire marks on there, so this is the kind of place that an ATV is taking people around. Not necessarily the kind of place where, even in its heyday, where paying customers were to be walking through. No signs, no indicators on any of that, and it's very hard to tell what the fence situation would have been like when the park was operational in its full capacity. Now here is an interesting moment. Again, my rule is generally I don't want to interfere. I don't want to interrupt. I don't want to cause any problems. So there is a ladder here, but I'm a little hesitant to get involved with that. I don't really want to. I'm trying to get myself in there and just see what's going on. Not a great camera shot, even with the naked eye. Wasn't really able to see anything. I'm pretty sure I'm on the back end of the old bear pit there, as it were. And I'll tell you, in this moment, I am standing there going, dang it, there is a very heavy smell The smell of that place is just putrid. And obviously this is a place where they used to have live animals, so I can only imagine what that smell is supposed to smell like. I'm not saying that to indicate that like they weren't taking good care of these animals. I have no idea. I can only imagine how smelly these things were outside. But I remember walking by in this moment and going, "Wow, that is a powerful, powerful smell. It absolutely just reeks in there." Some indication though of what the fence situation was like. That's why I say maybe that small cage we saw in the big roundabout paved area had an animal in it, because it doesn't look like that chain link fence is doing much. But that was the fence that was used to hold the bears in. So maybe it does more than I think. Maybe bears can climb less than I consider. But yeah, definitely the smell is what I noticed the most in that section there. Just about to that red ride now here. Again, we're just on the back end of it. Going to continue down this employee path. Doesn't it look like just brand new? It's as if that ride just went in the summer before they closed down. And we can definitely feel we're getting more and more of a service feel to these roads, to these pathways. We're getting a little further away from maybe where we should be. That's why the roads are getting more dirt, less stone, definitely less asphalt. There's the mountain that we had climbed up. And just trying to give you an idea as to where we are on these paths. I would love some idea as to how often anybody walked down these paths, because it does feel like definitely these are places for the ATVs, for the trucks. This is not a place where people were supposed to be walking, even the employees, right? Like this is just not a walking path, as it were. So I would love to know the number of people who have actually walked these paths, because I kept saying this is definitely the last full walkthrough of Marineland. I really do believe that, but how many people have ever done this walkthrough in general, I think is a reasonable question to ask. And turned into just such a gorgeous day to be doing this. I'm so grateful it all worked out in that sense. I do hate hearing how much I'm breathing on this, though. I am exhausted at this point. now we're into an actual service area here. We're seeing trailers. There's some buildings over to the side that I'm trying to avoid. Giving you some indication. What I think we're looking at here are like the back office buildings of the entire park. This is closer to where, a refueling station where different equipment would get picked up, dropped off. I think some office buildings here from the people who are running Marineland. I think we'll get a better shot of that in just a little further up the trail here. But that's roughly what we can see just through the greenery, through the clearing there on the other side of this path. You got to admit, they really used the land to the best that they could here. There's a lot happening in this park, and it is kind of just concentric circles, but they are very much able to make different worlds exist within this area. And it is a big swath of land, undeniably. These trails and these buildings, they are so close to the main road. That's why even though I'm hearing those engines revving, I'm not at all concerned that this is a vehicle on the Marineland property. This is very much a main road that's just right next to it. And it's hard to tell for sure, but this does start to link up to some of the end of the footage that we saw when we were just before heading into that gated area. Okay, now that was a rough camera cut. What just happened there is, as I was making my way back down that path, one of the service vehicles actually pulled up on me, and they kind of asked me, "What the heck are you doing here?" I was very happy that my camera was away because I told them I'm looking for the bathroom, and they told me that I was very much lost and that I needed to head back and go towards the main park. So I said, "Oh, thank you so much," and more or less ran and made my exit. Now, at that point, I did feel like, the heat was on, and they were kind of on to me. So up there is the other side of that mountain. That's really the one section that I didn't end up getting to within this video. There's the pickup truck that we saw in the beginning. At this point, I feel like I'm kind of pressing my luck. That roller coaster, that ride that they were making in the side of the mountain there, never did quite get completed as far as I could tell from my research there. And you can look that story up for yourself as well and get an idea as to what was going on that mountain there. That was the last little bit there. We barely missed anything by not going over there, but that was one section that just wasn't totally covered in this video. Again, I just got stopped by a car full of employees there, and they all were looking at me very suspiciously. So thankfully they were quite trusting, and they let me walk back on my own without driving me out. That's now the second time that I've had a run-in with the employees, and this one was far more suspicious than the first one. So I did really get the sense that kind of the heat was on, and that radio broadcasts were being made about me, and just kind of from security to security as to something's going on here, and there's definitely something to take note of. So we're just heading towards those old rides one more time. We have the bear pit just off to the right here as we're going up. We're going to try to make it to the tower. But, oh boy, do you notice that? Because that's where I noticed it. We have multiple big black bears walking around in the bear pit, and I kind of assumed that the bear pit was empty, and it is not. So I was on just the backside of that. I was smelling those animals and going, it does smell like there's animals there. There's at least 3, you can count them there, 3 if not 4 big black bears that are within that pit, and man am I glad that I didn't walk up any of those ladders. The idea of me goofing around inside of the bear pit I think was on the table. I decided better of it, but man am I glad that I did, because this whole video could have had a very different ending had I been dumb enough to get inside of the bear pit. So I steered clear of that, and at this point I've just got chased off by employees. I'm now seeing how close I was to actual live bears, and yeah, I'm pretty freaked out. So my heart rate is increasing, my breathing is increasing, and I'm trying to pick up the pace and get out of here. Now, as I said, this path that we're on here is taking us back to the splash pad, back to the gift shop, which is one of the only sections we haven't seen at this point, but there is that path just off to the right that's going to take us up to the big Marineland Tower, and that's my next major adventure. Again, I consider that one to be the hardest places to see just because of how visible it is from pretty well every side of this experience. So we're going to try to make our way up there now. I'm just going to point out the difference between the pathways of where we were walking when it was like dirt, clearly service access roads, compared to where we are now, where everything is very much paved, the brickwork on the side there. Although you can see a difference from the brickwork when we first got into the park versus now, where this is not something that's being maintained anymore. And I assume, somebody comes by with a weed whacker every morning in the places where pedestrians do go, or maybe just pedestrians walking on it stomps all this stuff down. But you can see all the weeds growing through there, and I would love to get an idea as to what it looks like in 2026. So this is the pathway up to the tower again. Only used by employees at this point. This has been off limits since 2023, but here in 2024, we're able to make that jaunt up there. So we're going to start going up this path here. You'll hear my breathing increase just a little bit more because now we're going on that much more of an incline as we start wrapping our way around the big mountain, heading up towards the big drop tower of Marineland that is so iconic from the Marineland commercials. Now up ahead, you see the major problem that I'm about to run into. As of right now, as I'm making this walk, there's a lot of tree coverage on the left-hand side, which is overlooking the splash pad and the beluga whale encounter or enclosure that we had seen earlier. Unfortunately, once those trees go down, there's a lot of open space. So I'm getting more nervous, definitely, because the odds of being seen here are going way up. The ideas of getting spotted, someone coming to get me, is all very much more real. So getting a little bit more panicked. I'm trying to keep myself to one side as small as possible, trying to focus on just getting up there without getting noticed, and that's why my camera work's getting a little bit shakier. I'm trying to move a little bit faster, just trying to not be seen as I'm making my journey here. There's not a ton of rides in Marineland. That was never really the idea of the park. But the idea of bringing your kids here, even when it was in its heyday and the ticket prices weren't just rock bottom, the idea that you could have your kids running up and down this hill all day, you're going to exhaust them. Again, trying to get a shot of the park, trying to give you an image as to what we're seeing there, but it is very much hard, especially when I'm nervous about being seen by other people, by the employees. Not really that they're security, but just people that are working here. We are at the top. You can see a picnic table there, or two. We have the trees all planted, and this is the very top of the Marineland Tower. And we'll see just a couple of buildings there. The line up the photo, and there it is. This is the base of the drop tower. And there it is, all the way to the top. We're as close as we've been at this point. Plenty of picnic tables. You get an idea, a sense of what it was like during the 90s and the early 2000s when this was a popular spot to be heading. Nice, beautiful clock tower. I couldn't tell you if that clock is operational at this point. I feel like it was, but I could very much be wrong about that. But we're right at the base of this thing now. Made our way all the way to the top. we're starting to get some sense or some views, some scenery here of Niagara Falls proper off in the distance. Again, a beautiful area. I wish I could have spent more time up at the top here. This is a gorgeous shot, something I really did enjoy being a part of. But you might have just seen something through the trees that as I'm filming this, I have not noticed. Again, a nice sweeping shot of Niagara Falls. So out of breath here. Huge hike. Oh, and there is a truck and an employee. So I didn't notice it until right in there in that moment. But yep, there is a truck and an employee. So I get real freaked out and I turn around pretty well immediately. I'm going to cut my camera pretty soon here from this section and just trying to get down. So this is me trying to make my exit, trying to get out as quickly as possible without being noticed. I don't know if that guy has seen me or not, but I got real freaked out because there was not supposed to be an employee there. And the last time I was up there wasn't. Now, we've had a restart. Now I'm back in the bathroom right at the very beginning. I'm just kind of showing you what the Marineland aesthetics of the bathroom look like. The reason is because I got kicked out. So another guy on one of those ATVs got zipped up to the top. He met me about halfway coming down that mountain. He put me in there and he took me all the way to the front door. He was not happy with me, but I didn't give him any answers. And he dropped me off at the front door and said, "Have a good day," and kicked me out of the building. The problem is there's about 10 people working here. So I went to the parking lot and I changed my clothes and I came right back in. So we're back in the park and we're back at the start. It's a bit of a respawn, if you will. And again, this is our upgrade your fun card here booth. We don't need to do that though. The real reason I came back in was not just to try and defy authority. That's not the real intention here. But the only thing that we haven't seen here, that one section of the mountain, which would have been great, but I don't feel like is a tremendous loss. Nothing was completed on that side anyways. The one thing we haven't seen here is the kids section. So that was just on the other side of our beluga path here. Again, just kind of showing you Waldorf's Palace, some of those pieces there that maybe we had missed, maybe this side of entering in because we had gone through on the top. We had come in from the other side of the dolphin enclosure. We hadn't come down this side. Not that I think this is tremendously important. I think we have got a pretty good understanding and grip on this, but we haven't gone through this section. So while I'm here, trying to get as much as we can. Ultimately, at this point, trying to make our way over to the kids section is our next major component. And again, it's impressive. It's hard to say it's not. Seeing those dolphins swim by, it is super impressive. I understand the attraction of having a place like Marineland. Obviously, the more we know about marine life, about mammals, about animals in general, just kind of how brutal it is to have them in a tank like this, we can all have that conversation. But the reality of, I would be lying if I said that seeing these animals up close and personal like that wasn't impressive. It certainly is. They're fascinating creatures. They're they're beautiful. They're intelligent. It's hard to take your eyes off of them. So at this point, we're making that walk one more time, and we're going to just try to see what we can do in terms of the kids section. Oh, as well as the gift shop of the park here. I don't remember if we make our way all the way there. Again, right to our left, we were showing inside of the glass there earlier, and we know that those were the gift shops, and we could imagine how much stuff and how much materials would have been stored in there, where obviously this is all closed, off limits, nothing in there in terms of merchandise. But as I said, right next to the splash pad, there was still merchandise. So we're back to the restaurant and just kind of showing again those yellow bars telling us do not enter, just showing us what is off limits, what's on limits. Again, why this section's even off limits in terms of picnic tables, it doesn't really make any sense to me, but those were the distinctions made for this season. All these picnic tables are still available. And again, think about how many picnic tables alone we've seen here, like hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of picnic tables that we've seen throughout this video, whether they were stacked up or in place. Guest services building. I think this is like the main office at this point where most of the employees are kind of going in and out. It's also the medical building. Again, very little going on there. That was the gate though that we saw when we were coming through the parking lot. And again, just the sheer number of picnic tables that are sat here, but off limits and not allowed to go in. So coming up to our first set of white barricades instead of yellow barricades, just trying to get a look in here. This is all the kids section, so all the smaller rides, and you can just sort of see some of them. Again, all dilapidated for the most part, taken apart. Just getting an inkling of them. If you remember the commercial from Marineland, you get a good idea. I flash forwarded there, just again to not backtrack any of our steps. This is the polar splash pad. It's not a real polar bear. Those are the ceramic ones, as I was talking about. And ultimately, a pretty extensive splash pad. There's a lot going on in there. And if you lived near this place, if you lived in Niagara Falls and you had small kids, the idea of getting a $15 season pass to be able to walk these grounds, to be able to go to the splash pad, all a pretty good deal, undeniable. You can see up there just, one of the few employees kind of hanging out. This is the castle for the deer. Again, completely off limits, out of bounds at this point. But those deer are definitely in there. This is a weird shot. This is the gift store at this point. It's also the bathroom. It's also the change room. I was only in there for about 16 seconds because, again, I had just been kicked out. The only employees, there was like 6 of them. One of them was working there, so I assumed my name or my image had been kind of sent around on the radio, and I didn't want to be filming in the change room too much. But again, the change room was the bathroom, was the gift shop. Things are very strange in Marineland at this point. So one last pass through. We're done here at the splash pad. We're done here at the gift store. This is the entrance to the beluga whales that again we've been through. We're really just trying to go see that kid section. So one last time across the train tracks, and we see that final yellow barrier for us here. This is the last one that we're going to see, and we're going to just try to check if the entire section is blocked off. Wouldn't you know, we were able to make our way through. So we're into the kids section now. Again, a little nervous. I don't want to get kicked out for a second time right in a row. But we needed to make sure that we saw the whole park, and this is the only thing that we haven't seen at this point. So we're not going to be able to make that full loop around there, getting too close to the guest services. As we saw with the restaurant, there's a lot of wide open spaces, very easy to be seen there. This is, again, the other side of the restaurant now. It's not a huge kid section. There's not a tremendous amount of rides. We're going to do the best that we can to see as much as we can. But again, for some reason, I don't know if it's construction or maintenance or landscaping going on, but there's a lot of trucks. There's a lot of employees moving around throughout there. And we're going to try to get the best shots that we can as we're going through. So first up, we got some sort of Ferris wheel idea. Again, there is that section there where we should have a sign there. We see all the lines waiting for us. All the carts have been taken off there, and I'm moving at a quicker pace here. So yeah, all the seats for that Ferris wheel have been taken off. Another one of those sections where we should have a sign there indicating what the attraction is. All those have been removed. We're seeing a bunch of lines here, a bunch of different rides. For the most part, just left to rust, to sit out in the sun. And that's about as far as I can go before, again, getting seen. So we're back at the auditorium. We're back in the parking lot. That auditorium was obviously closed, but a nice little shady spot for people to hang out in front. So we're going to the other side of the parking lot. That's right. If you didn't think the first half of the parking lot was huge enough, we have almost another full-size parking lot in that same way. Again, with about 14 cars in total because of the state of the parking is so full of it. And of course, hate just these animals. But also, you can see there was a lot of potential. This was a first day to this far. Video walkthrough of Marineland, and we're just making our exit here, going towards the highway. One more Marineland sign. Again, those stained images of the whale because they've been taken off. But thank you so much for your time, everyone. Please reach out if you have comments, questions, concern, or information, because that's really what I'm looking for. Or let me know if there's another amusement park that I can stop by. Thank you.